Today on the Star Trek Critic, Realm of Fear. As usual, points are taken away for errors, and the first point lost is for reused footage from the episode Evolution. The plot. Barclay has a transporter phobia. I wouldn't be surprised if half the crew has a transporter phobia. While points are taken away for science errors, and even though transporters will probably be impossible in the future, it gets a pass, since without transporters, there would be no Star Trek. That also goes with artificial gravity and everyone speaking English. Star Trek Enterprise tried to incorporate these issues, but they still had to abandon the practice too. The Yosemite only has a crew of 5. I find it too hard to believe a deep space science ship would have that small of a crew, so -1 point. And why do they get all their chairs from Office Depot? This is Picard maneuver number 1. Barclay solves the transporter issue, but Geordi tells the bridge, we're going to bridge them. He didn't give credit to Barclay. O'Brien says I number 1. Reg says I number 2. As usual, extras always walk past opening doors. Then he says it's going to be a bumpy ride, like this.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Poor Barclay, he looks like he's waiting to be beheaded. Then he runs out, and strangely, someone walks by right when the doors open. 1 point lost for opening credits 6 minutes into the show. Why do the props in Deanna's office look like giant lotion bottles? I wouldn't be surprised if half her clients on the ship have this fear, especially if they watch the first Star Trek movie. It looks like he is also afraid of the left fielder. Deanna proves she is no help at all. That's the last thing she should say to him. Flexing on Earth is called an emotional freedom technique. Deanna might have said this phrase to Barclay, but she isn't the first one to say it. Here is another example of a cheap chair. O'Brien talks about his fear of spiders, then he says that he got through it. This is a great that's what she said moment. This is the first time you see what it's like to be beamed on TV. However, I was beamed in the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas, and it was nothing like that. So how long have they been here? Barclay had time to run to Deanna's office and back. Barclay says I number 3. The good thing is, they don't yell at Barclay, they applaud him for facing his fears. The Admiral isn't wearing a comm badge. Of course, Admirals can do what they want. And this conversation about the Cardassians has nothing to do with what's going on. It's actually product placement for these guys. And this time, there's no in-transmission phrase under the symbol. Is this the only time that happens? The Enterprise has a crew of 1,000, and it's like their only job is to walk past doors when they open. Barclay's rank is upside down here, so -1 point. Barclay got bit by a space worm in the transporter. That's what happens if you read Dune too many times. Barclay asks Geordi if anything strange ever happened to him in the transporter. Geordi is thinking, should I tell him about that time last month when Ro and I were phased and thought for dead? Nah, I'll just say I see pretty resonance patterns. Barclay blames the third baseman. Geordi calls him the left fielder, but takes him seriously when he said he saw something in the transporter. O'Brien does Picard maneuvers 2 and 3. Reg is right. Knowing exactly how they will work will scare you more than anything. Barclay says, there's really only one way I like to travel. While right now, O'Brien is thinking, just a few more weeks with Barclay and I'll be on Deep Space Nine where there are no problems. Down in sickbay, a dead person breathed.
She breathed on me! A dead person breathed! Oh, her hand touched me!
Beverly quotes Commander Riker.
What the hell is going on?
Barclay discovers his arm is blue, and what's worse, no one walked by when the doors opened. You know, that means the end of the Enterprise. There's the extra. I was getting a little worried. Based on Barclay's personality, I don't think his quarters would be this clean. He'd be more of a cluttered quarters type of person. Barclay does Picard maneuver number 4, and the symptoms of transporter psychosis sound a little bit familiar.
Will become violently ill in the next half hour. Starts with a slight fever, dryness of the throat. As the virus penetrates the red blood cells, the victim becomes dizzy. Begins to experience an itching, a rash. From there, the poison goes to work on the central nervous system, causing severe muscle spasms, followed by the inevitable drooling. At this point, the entire digestive system collapses, accompanied by uncontrollable flatulence, until finally the poor bastard is reduced to a quivering, wasted piece of jelly.
The way it's described, It sounds like it's a symptom caused by going through the transporter, not the phobia that Barkley has. In the conference room, the stars aren't moving. Now they are, so -1 point. And why are Beverly and John Luke standing so close together? Geordi says I number 4. Barkley says I number 5, so it's time for a drink. Data and Geordi both know Barkley is acting peculiar. He's going up the Jeffries tube to sneak a drink and perform Picard maneuver number 5, so let's take a drink with him. 1 point lost for Deanna in a catsuit for ratings. This is probably the fastest recorded walk through the hallways. Deanna relieves Reg. Aww. I hope that includes mandatory counseling. Barkley tries relaxing by being attacked by angry seagulls. Then gets into a fight with the AI-generated computer voice.
Specified temperature.
I don't care. Just give me water.
He decides to go with his gut and calls Chief O'Brien in the middle of the night, so -1 point, since there would be a night shift transporter operator in the room. O'Brien says I number 6. Barkley does Picard maneuvers 6 and 7, and there he goes to fight the sandworms in space. 1 point lost for the senior staff being waken up in the middle of the night, since in the real future there would be a night shift, most likely commanded by Data, the second officer, because that would be his job. The best part about this scene is that they listen to Barkley. Picard double checks to make sure he wasn't hallucinating, but none of them get all pissy about it. Worf says I number 7, and there's Picard maneuver number 6. Now don't tell Barkley Beverly put him in this machine to secretly have his head examined. Beverly finds the parasites in his arm. Riker's thinking, oh good, you were checking his arm and didn't tell him that was a brain scanner. He won't ever know. Barkley says I number 8 and does Picard maneuvers 7 and 8. The next point is lost for a barely visible boom. Geordi does Picard maneuver number 9. Another point lost for beaming this plasma stream into engineering when they have perfectly good cargo bays to do experiments in. Barkley says I number 9, and the thing explodes in the middle of engineering. It's not like they knew there was an explosion on the Yosemite or anything and thought about doing the same thing in a safe place, like away from the warp core. Could they have beamed aboard an explosive device? Looks like they did. This is when they discover the particles are alive, like they never knew objects could live in space. And Barkley is knocked out. In sickbay, they tell Barkley he has microbes inside of him and the only way to get them out is to leave him in the transporter beam. That's not good. How long is a Chinese name? They tell him 40 seconds, but if you time it, he was in there for nearly 2 minutes. No wonder he's nervous. Data sounds so optimistic about what happens if he's in there too long. There goes Reg back to find the alien sandworms. Luckily, he can't hear them talk about his signal resolution. O'Brien says I number 10, so while he's stuck in the transporter beam, let's have another drink. Geordi says this won't hurt a bit. That's what they all say. Barkley grabs the giant worm. The next point is lost for this guy's leg going through the force field. 1 point lost since Worf had less than 5 lines in this show. Barkley's gut instinct saved the crew caught in the transporter and performs Picard maneuver number 10, so let's celebrate with one final drink. According to the stardate, about 16 hours have passed. That's about right. The show ends with Barkley discovering Chief O'Brien takes his pet tarantula to bars. However, Christine could be a reminder of what happened to the scientist that created the first transporter machine a long, long time ago. So don't tell Barkley that this tarantula actually symbolizes his fears are coming to get him in the end. Renata Scott was born in Vienna, Austria, and has 35 screen credits, including The A-Team, The Golden Girls, and Murder, She Wrote. Thomas Belgrade does a lot of stage acting and has 40 screen credits, including Days of Our Lives and Lincoln. Realm of Fear, which so many people with phobias can relate to, gets a great score of 88%. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, and come back next week for Man of the People.